Where else can they?
Soccer just fine if they let people go. They're way too much.
I'm gonna go up here and check. I don't have a stable writing surface.
That's why I asked them.
I'm about a girl now.
Look at you.
Okay, good. But the deck is true. That's what I nearly.
I get mine 12 years tomorrow. Avoid those sibling rivalries.
So nice, you know, it's listed about who's here.
I think we can see
I would have brought you something.
In theory, they should have.
It's
How much better?
Yeah, the brother wasn't.
It doesn't just come out like this.
There's a story.
Yeah. They let you lay there for the hour.
I got more room.
Yeah. Just go.
Especially since
We'll call tonight's meeting of the Wood City Council to order. Manny, would you take a roll call, please?
Bob Richard,
Here.
Kent Miller,
Here.
Rick Brown, Tony Gingler,
Yes.
Matt Oddie,
Yes.
Lloyd Luttrell,
Present.
Robert Peterson,
Here.
Charlene Evil, present.
Thank you. If you'll stand with me for the invocation and the pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, please continue to bless our great community that we have. We're so fortunate for all the things that you have brought forward to us. Continue to be with our youth, that they start traveling around the communities and representing us as our ambassadors, as they represent us in sporting events and academic events also. Be with our law enforcement, be with our military as they protect our communities. Be with those citizens in Missouri that have suffered the riots and the damages and loss of property and the financial losses that they have. And be with us tonight as we make decisions that affect our community. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lloyd, do you have anything at this time?
No, thank you.
Matt?
Just nice to see the Christmas lights come around.
Yeah, they're going pretty good. Mark? Fantastic. Charlene?
I just have one thing that I've got to report on. I did get a call back from a gentleman from the state water office, and I hope that the park and the recreation, or the street department didn't think that I was saying that they were pushing stuff over in the river. But being as we had that problem before with the permit that we did not get, I just wanted more information, and he sent me everything he had, and there's new regulations. I got it to Amanda and asked her to get it to the proper departments, and he said if there was anything he could ever do for us, let us know. And then I need to Chris, I've had a complaint from a lady about another lady having a lot of dogs in her house. So,
Okay.
see if we can get that straightened out. Hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Ken? Bob?
I just want to commend everybody in the Isle Lines and the grandkids who've been grows and grows every year. It's really neat. I mean, they do a lot of work.
The LED lighting really makes it look nice.
Oh,
doesn't
it's
it?
a lot, makes it a lot.
Just kind
That's all I'm
of really jump. Tony?
Well, I just wanted to say to Mike back there, my folks says, thank you for cleaning up the roads that are on Sturgis Street.
Tell them they're welcome.
He said, done a nice job.
Thank you, Tony. Bob?
Well, I took a couple of weeks off and went to Colorado, and I got to see some pretty good football games. The first one had to stand out in weather, 17 degrees, to see them win, and they went on to state and won the state.
Makes it worth the
One of my
trip.
grandsons made a touchdown, the other one kicked 2 extra points, so it was a great deal.
Life is good.
Yeah.
Grandpa's pretty proud. needless
Oh,
to
you
say.
bet.
That's nice.
That's nice.
Glenn, do you have anything at this time?
A couple things. Reminder about the Christmas party, if you haven't RSVP'd yet, that's coming up on the 20th, and you need to know whether you're gonna be there or not as soon as possible here, because they're gonna prepare what they need to get done there. You may have noticed that we've already got work over here on our downtown rehabilitation grant. They actually started work on the outside of the building there this week. That's pretty tough conditions, so, but they're already doing that. We did have the housing rehabilitation grant meeting, I think it was 24th last week, Heather, was that correct? I think we had about 60 people at least show up to express interest in both the demolition and the rehab side on that. So when are those due?
January 5th.
January 5th.
Sooner the better, though.
Deadline on that. So there, yeah, seems to be a lot of interest in that. So anyway, so that's moving along, and we are making progress on our geometric improvement grant out there on Highway 14. The appraiser has been in town and set up meetings, I think, with all the affected properties to get the easements on that. So we'll be getting those shortly and moving that project along here. So that's all we got for now.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is Richard Patton's public hearing. And I don't think he's here to represent us all. So, do we need to go ahead and vote on Chris to proceed, or?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to hear anything from Chris here about that. He's been working with the property owner on that. It's a tree that needs to come out in the opinion of code enforcement here, and I guess Mr. Patrick was asking for more time there, but I've not heard from him since I received the letter, so.
Okay, well, maybe he'd be here.
If you have any questions, Chris, I can bring us up to speed.
Well, yeah, I think what you see in your packets kind of covers that. There's the notice that I sent, and the pictures of the tree. Hollowed out tree, and it leans kind of toward one side. That's not his side, so it kind of leaned over the neighbor's house. We're afraid that a good ice storm or snowstorm could bring that tree down onto the neighbor's house, and I think that tree needs to be removed. And so we served him the notice, and his time is up, I think, next Tuesday. So that's about all I can add to it. Didn't know what he was going to say here tonight. He hadn't talked to me at all.
Okay.
So
You need a motion from us to go ahead.
I don't think so. If he's not here to appeal the decision, then decision's been made.
Okay.
What sort of progress has he made on this previous issue that was before us?
The porch was made safe. Ugly as sin, but it's been made safe. The yard is been picked up mostly, not quite entirely, but I think he'll get there. We do have a reappearance in court this coming Monday, so we'll see where he is at that time and what the court decides at that time. But
Is that the one on Hershey Street?
yes, yeah.
Because I've had 2 complaints on that.
The porch one was the.
Yeah, the very,
Around
yeah,
Fourth and Middle.
yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
Well,
Okay, with that taken care of, we'll move on to the public hearing on the North Campus improvements. I think that's what I had next. Is there any
commission or comments, Glenn, on that?
No, I didn't receive any. I mean, the public hearing that we have scheduled tonight is basically, requirement if you're gonna go ahead and issue, public improvement bonds for that, and so you have to establish the hearing date for them. But that's it, that's all we're really doing. There's nothing new. We'll have all the documents with the second meeting in December.
Okay. Well, if there's no comments, we will. Dave?
Yeah, I got a comment. Now, I just saw this notice in the paper last week. I'm not sure exactly what it's all entails. I saw something about $1.2 million, spent on some asphalt or something for the roads up there in the
One
woods.
streets in the North Campus,
Okay.
concrete.
I had something about a bunch of lots. What lots are those? Are those been sold or something?
They haven't been sold yet.
And what-
Some of them might have been.
Well, some of them have.
Some
We
of them have,
sold
but not
certain
all of
ones
them.
along Walnut Street and whatever, but not all of them.
Okay. Now, where's this street gonna be that you're talking, want to spend $1.2 million on?
Well, it'd be all the streets up there in the North Campus. They'd finish all the streets up there.
Okay.
They'd tie everything together.
Okay.
And the whole thing, it'll be done.
The only street I've seen so far is some concrete that basically goes off of North Campus, goes west and disappears going north.
Yeah, that's the Silver Fox Estates area over in there. But what we want to do is finish all the streets up there in that development, and that way people can see where the streets are and then start developing it at any time and not build a house and have to wait to have a street there.
Now, what type of streets are you putting in?
Concrete.
Concrete?
That was into what, 6 blocks? When we're done?
All of them are concrete streets.
Okay.
The only ones that, Silver Fox, the city's gonna finish that. And the rest of the streets we're gonna have contracted out so we can get it done faster. And we think by doing that, Dave, that we can sell them lots a lot faster. And not only that, we've got Dollar General going in, so we've gotta get a street in there for them to operate.
Okay, is Dollar General gonna be on 24 or?
Yes.
Okay, so
Just
Right
right
next,
on the west side of the
right west
park.
of the
Their
park.
drive won't be on 24, the street comes in, and their drive will come off of that street.
Okay. I'm just thinking that that's a lot of money for a concrete road when there's nobody actually paying for it right now. And I remember years ago, West Beloit had a bunch of streets up there. They were all gravel. In fact, we put a bunch of houses up there. In fact, I was across the street from Lloyd, and it was a gravelous road at the time. And what happened was, after those houses were put in, it was still a gravel road, and then the people up there decided that they wanted to go and have a blacktop or asphalt road. And then that was put onto the taxes, so that there wasn't any expense from the city at the time. They just had to go and put it in. Once it was put in, and they had people paying on that over time. Right now, you're basically going to put something in that has nobody paying for it, except for the city, and we're hoping that someone come in and maybe build.
That's correct.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Good plan.
it was a good plan up there in West Beloit too, when they had gravel roads.
Yeah.
We put in 30, 40 houses up there that had gravel roads. And didn't have any problem with that. And at the time when people bought the homes, they ended up deciding they want to have a blacktop road. They ended up doing that. They put a blacktop road in there, which then is, that cost went onto the people's, onto the tax rolls. Right now, that cost is going to be on the city. Now, I'm just wondering, you're going to be issuing a bond for this, so I'm assuming that's going to increase the taxes to cover this bond. Is that correct?
How's that work? Is that
No,
going-
actually, no. We'll special assess to the properties, whether it's city-owned or owned by private people up there who already own it. And then the rest of the pay through our capital improvement funds, basically what we collect in sales tax every month. So,
And in the meantime, you're sitting there waiting, hoping that someone's going to build a house or building on that property. to
we've been
get that
working,
tax.
yeah, hoping and waiting for about 5 years since we've owned it, so this would push the process along.
And some of those lots have been sold for new homes to be built.
Okay. Well, those homes that have been sold, is it going to cover the cost of this $1.2 million?
As
Part of, in front of their house, it will.
But for the rest of it, that's
Just
still.
like when you were over there on West, just like me down here on Walnut, I had to pay for the street there, my half,
Right.
the 50-foot lot, my half of the street.
So if someone comes in and buys this house 5 years from now, builds a house out there, they're gonna have 5 years back taxes due against them to cover up, to catch up to where they are on the current, or how's that work out?
Does that work that way? 'Cause
No,
It'll be
as
from-
long as from the time you purchase it, that'll be when you start paying on it.
Okay,
we're paying
so who
for
eats
the
that for
CIP
like
money.
5 years before? I mean, who
Right.
eats that? I mean, are we, the city, gonna have to eat that?
We're paying for that with the sales tax.
But there should be some recovery because you will have to
You sell the
reevaluate
lot.
the price of the property
Yeah.
because it has those improvements on it.
So the appraised value should go up.
Dave, the difference is, and I see your point, but out there you had streets at least.
We
There's
had-
no
we
streets.
had gravel roads. What
But
I'm
there's
saying
no
is-
streets up
But
there.
there's three.
You know, you guys are talking asphalt, high dollar stuff.
No,
Why
no,
can't
We're
you-
talking concrete.
Well, concrete, once again, high dollar. Why can't you go with some gravel, some AB3 and put out there like they had out there? I mean, hell, I'd like to be flying a Learjet too, but, you know, I can't afford it. So, why can't we have a lower cost, but in the lower value roads, people can build, and as they build, they can go in and petition to the city to have those streets put in and save us some expense.
Well, that's just the way we want it.
We want to get it completed, so it's there, it's done, and we move on.
And
I think the thought process is that people that are moving in there are building new homes, and there's some high dollar homes that are going in there, and they don't wanna, we wanna make it as attractive as possible to get people in. And this is a strategy we're taking in the hopes that it'll get fast growth, because we wanna get out of the business of being landlords and back is.
Use another city example, Ellsworth.
yeah,
Okay, the Ellsworths have lots down there, only they give the lots away, but they put the streets in first. And within 2 years, the lots are all taken care of because of the streets.
okay, did the developer have to pay any of that cost up front to buy that lot then? Did they increase the cost of us of the
The city
house?
give the lot away, give the
They gave the road.
individual that bought and put the house in.
Okay, so,
But we're not doing that.
okay, you're not subsidizing the contractor to do that, okay.
And there's lots of other towns, like I noticed in Salina and Concordia, they've put, you know, part of the road in already for advanced growth. And, you know, I don't see any difference, you know, why we couldn't.
Yeah, I think it makes it a lot more attractive.
Well, I would assume if the developer come in and bought 5 lots, he's gonna have to pay for all the streets.
Yeah, he's gonna pay for his percentage of the street.
Which will increase the cost of the house.
Yeah.
So what it makes it not affordable is people could pay that extra cost up front to get into those houses, which is gonna increase the cost of that home.
A lot of those people that want those houses, they want that nice street in front of them.
Then they're gonna be paying high dollar. I mean,
Yeah, that's their choice, that's
And-
their
and
options.
The way they did it, I don't know, maybe I'm out of touch, but in Lawrence, we'd have a developer come in and they would say, they'd lay a plat out to the city would vote on it, say, yeah, we wanna have this in there in front of the planning board, so on and so forth. They say, okay, and then they'd go ahead and the contractor or the developer would pay for the cost of the streets to go in up front instead of sitting there with streets that maybe not be designed that the contractor or the contractor wanted. Maybe he didn't like the way the streets were laid out. He basically laid out the way he wanted them to get to maximize the profit on the number of lots.
Sure, that's a great way to do it, but in this case, we're kind of the developer.
Well,
It's our
yeah,
property, and
well,
we want
that's
it
part of the
sold
point.
and on the
You
tax.
guys aren't supposed to be in the real estate business. I mean, you're supposed to
We
manage
have
the
it,
city,
and
not.
we're working our
run
way
real
out of the
estate.
real estate business is what we're trying to do. Anything else, Dave?
Well, I guess that's it. Just
Okay.
to say that I don't approve of spending $1.2 million on something that's not there, and I prefer to see something a little cheaper put in first, and then let someone in and pay for those costs as we go along, instead of paying for it out of our own pocket and increasing our taxes down the road.
Okay. Thanks for your comments, Dave. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda from November the 18th and appropriations 12A.
I have a question on a couple things on the appropriation ordinance. On the glass services on page Two, is that, the billing for windows that were damaged by hail?
It's for the
For the-
downtown,
Oh,
for the rehabilitation.
It's for the project over here.
Okay.
I thought we
Okay.
wasn't involved in it.
Well, it goes through us, and then we get reimbursed.
Ah, so we get that money back.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I was wrong.
Yeah, yeah, we apply for the grant under
Yeah.
the city, and then they.
Got that from the name of it, you know, I got the right dollar amount.
Then I had two more. McHenry Electric. There was two bars of what? Steel? What kind? I mean,
I can't.
oh, you can answer, oh, okay.
Chainsaw bars.
Oh, okay.
Ones for chainsaws. is what-
Okay,
Ah,
all right. And
I
then,
happen to have that on
okay. And then the Midwest Service Bureau. Are they the ones that do you turn over the collections
Mhm.
for past
Yeah.
delinquent? Okay. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Lloyd?
Yes, on the same one, Glass Services, I was just wondering, where's the grant money at? Did it come in first, and who's,
We're gonna pay for it, and they've already submitted to the state to reimburse us. It's already in the works.
okay,
And then they'll ACH it to our account.
so that answers probably the second
Mhm.
question, is why is it in this account? Because that money will go back into this
Yeah,
account.
it'll go
Yes,
right
sir.
back in there.
And then I had a question on signature limits and what things are included in signature limits.
On what?
Well, I noticed in the county treasurer, we have various lots of the north campus that we pay taxes on, that's $7,788, and I'm wondering, is that within somebody's signature limit, or, I mean, the total bill apparently was $12,000. And on the next one down, the Nebraska Power Pool for the CD and support plan, it was $5,690.
I think there is a limit for department heads. There's a limit for,
I'm just wondering who has the limit to pay this without coming to council.
Each one of
Even if
those,
it's a single supplier.
but are they on different purchase orders? Under the signature.
Well,
No, the other ones, I mean, they're just property taxes, like for the North Campus and the sewer and.
yeah, I know.
Well, that Nebraska Power Pool, that's something that probably we approve belonging to you, and it's just a yearly.
is that our computer software?
Yeah, that's
support?
our computer software, it's an annual
I mean, like,
expense.
some of that stuff, it's gotta be done.
Well, I would assume if we approved the initial contract or whatever, then that covers year-to-year payment. At least I would think. And I guess taxes, we probably don't have to approve paying taxes, if we're in trouble.
Yeah, they'll repossess it.
Disapprove mine.
So, since that was one check that was written in, right? And then on each, then it was just a total of all of them, or was there a check written from each fund?
On the property taxes?
On the property tax?
It's gonna go on one
One
check,
check.
but it's to different, like the biggest ones for the North Campus, the 7,700.
The lots on the north campus?
And then we got, some.
And those lots on the north campus are the ones that we have leased? These are the ones that we pay property tax on?
On the land, but mainly it's the agricultural and
Oh, the
the
ag.
land underneath that they managed to get us on that one. Not the buildings per
Yeah,
se.
we got exemptions on almost everything else, remember a couple of years ago, we went through that process.
And this has been paid?
Well, it's going to be paid.
It's gonna be paid.
Yeah,
Okay.
these are
After
all,
we approve it tonight.
these are all
Mhm.
not paid yet until you guys approve it, so.
Okay. Any other questions? I entertain a motion to approve the meetings from November the 18th and appropriations full day. Moved by Councilman Richards that we approve the consent agenda. Any second by Councilman Miller. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Manny, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Gingler,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Audi,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Latrell,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is ordinances. Ordinance 2159 on the electric rates. And these are recommended 3% per year for 2 years. The first increase began January 2015 billing cycle, and the second increase January 2016. Questions from the council? Comments?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. Just to be clear, what is this rate increase for? This is for, I'll let you.
Yeah, it's for the number of projects that the electric department has brought forward in the past couple of years, I think. Anything from the proposed pipeline that we're probably gonna have to build one way or the other, to numerous other upgrades as far as the distribution system goes and whatever. That's it. So the logic behind it is we'd rather see a 2 or 3% increase here for a couple of years rather than waiting 10 years or whatever and then jumping it up, which I think the last time it was about 7 years ago, we had a rate adjustment, and that, it increased it quite a bit at that time. So we're trying to avoid doing that. So that's been the logic behind it, to do a gradual increase and come back and look at it in a couple of years and see where you're at as far as fund balances and where we're at as far as our projects develop.
I had a second question. At the work session when we discussed this, I asked for a comparative study with a different type structure, and we never had any.
Okay, I don't remember being like
I wanted to see a different structure because it put 12% of the rate increase on homeowners and as an increase, and then I think it was like a 27% decrease in the current bill for large companies. And I asked to see, maybe a flat rate, maybe a flipping of that where it's cheaper on the residents than, and we haven't had anything brought back to the work session, and it's now on formal session. I was wondering, was that just forgotten, or?
No, I don't remember you saying that you wanted a different, because the way the lower end users on this one would, depending on how you use it and when you use it, could see a slight decrease in it.
Not according to the papers in my packet. In my packet, it says you're good, inside the city, you're gonna be paying 8.5 cents kilowatt hour if you're a homeowner. And if you're, say, Sunflower, you're gonna be paying 5.8 cents per kilowatt hour. So you're paying less.
They also have demand charges that they pay.
Well,
Yeah.
there's demand charges and then there's
And
the
they're
regular base
regular,
charges.
yeah.
And on the quote, the base charges this time. And from that work session, these look like the same numbers. He put out a new percentage and said they were gonna have a decrease in their monthly bill from what they're currently paying. Whereas, we're trying to make up a 3%, we're trying to figure out how to spread out a 3% increase across the city. And I wanted to see a different structure, and I didn't get it, and I'm not happy with that. And I don't personally like this structure, so.
It's our past structure that we had in 76. I think there was 5 or 6 actual drops from, like, you'd have the first 20 kilowatts was like $2.70, and then the next 500, it'd be a total of $37.50, and then you go on, and it was like residential in town, residential outside, your small business urban, small business rural, large business urban, large business rural. And at that time, there was a definite decrease, and it's been that way as far as I can remember. There's a definite decrease in all of those rates for the more kilowatts that you use, for everybody. then they changed those on the card. And I don't know to how many tiers they went the last time. But here we're going just, looks like 3 tiers, doing away with some of the tiers.
Well, and that's
No, that's
another,
correct.
that's another reason I personally don't like this plan, because I think in the world of, we're having to build more infrastructure to produce more power, we shouldn't be incentivizing people to use more power. And the incentive, in my opinion, should be to conserve power, and this is the exact opposite of that. You're giving a volume discount for usage.
As we took those away, I mean, we used to have a lot more declining block rates, and we took out the 3 top ones on those, as Charlene was talking about. So we did the exact opposite.
But on this current